God speaks in the silence of the heart, and we listen. And then we speak to God from the fullness of our heart. First we listen, God speaks, and then we speak and God listens. And that connection is prayer, is oneness with God. Fruit of prayer is deepening of faith. And the fruit of faith is love. And the fruit of love is service. And the fruit of service is peace. That's why we need to pray to have a clean heart. And if we have a clean heart, we can see God. And if we see God, naturally we begin to love one another. That means we see and we look, and then we give our hands to serve and our hearts to love. And that's the beginning of holiness.
I think advice to give to someone who's thinking about what their vocation is going to the Blessed Sacrament. I think it's just such a peaceful place, and Christ is so fully present there. Something that I've learned through my ministry and just being in a parish is that we can bring anything to Christ, and especially he's so physically there, we can bring him anything. So if we're thinking about our vocation or what we want to do, just going to speak with him before the Blessed Sacrament, I think, is really helpful.
I'd recommend to anyone discerning their vocation, explore everything, do all that God has given, pursue all that God has given us, and give everything a fair shake. Don't rule anything out completely in your pursuit of how you can best love God.
Talk with mentors and people you trust about different spiritual concerns, and discussing your different gifts and what gives you life, I guess, is really helpful.
When I thought about vocations for the longest time, I was so stressed out because I thought that I had to find exactly what God wanted me to do, because if I didn't, I was going to let him down. It was going to be so horrible and awful, and I was being really dramatic about it. But through a lot of prayer and a lot of different retreats and talking with other people who have already found their vocations, I realized that it wasn't so much about finding what it is you're supposed to do, but rather how you're supposed to love the Lord, and like how he specifically made you to love him. So I'm still in the process of discerning, and I don't know, I think my biggest piece of advice would be just to pray a whole lot and focus on what it is that he's calling you to do right now in the present moment.
I think it's far better to continually pray, how can I best love you, Lord? And if that is the prayer that you wake up with every day, and you say, how can I love you now in the present? God will answer that prayer, and you'll know exactly what you're supposed to do.
I'm just too busy.
I'm just too young.
I'm too old.
I'm already married.
I'm just not good enough.
There are a lot of reasons why not to answer God's call. We look at our lives, our imperfect, unprepared, even sinful lives, and all we're able to see is what's missing, what we can't do. How could God use me, we ask? There must be better people. Judging ourselves by the standard of our world, we respectfully decline God's call and hope that someone else will answer it. But God doesn't choose people based on the standard of our world. So often it's not the strong, the knowledgeable, or the perfect that he chooses. It's the weak, the unexpected, even the broken ones he uses to show his glory. Elizabeth was too old. Moses wasn't a good speaker. Jeremiah was too young. Rahab was a prostitute. Mary Magdalene had 7 demons. Jonah ran from God. Peter straight up denied Jesus. And Lazarus? Lazarus was dead. To say that we're too old, too young, too busy, or too much of a sinner to accomplish great things on our own might be true, on our own. But while we're sitting here focused on all the many things we can't do, the many ways in which we are not good enough to accomplish incredible things, we forget one fundamental truth. It's not about us. Having a call from God is not about who we are and what we can do. It's about who God is and what God wants to accomplish in and through us. As he has shown time and time again, it doesn't matter if the person thinks she or he is qualified, wants the job in the first place, or in the case of Lazarus, is even alive. All that matters is that God knows who he can use and calls them to share in his work of building up the kingdom. Maybe God is calling you to use the gifts you've been given to make the world a better place for everyone to live, especially the poor among us. Calling you to share the amazing things you've learned to enlighten minds about the wonders of God and the universe he created. Calling you to work with integrity and virtue, doing jobs that no one else wants to do for the betterment of society and nation. Calling you to live with kindness and peace, building up the human family through love and forgiveness. When it comes to being called by God, there's no such thing as being too young or too old, unworthy or unprepared. And it doesn't matter if you're single, married, or a celibate like me. If God has a job for you, all that matters is that you have the courage to say yes and the trust to follow wherever he may lead you. And who knows, maybe you'll end up wearing brown, just like me.